Hey people, I was talking about this Key of Hell book in that last movie and how this picture is supposed to represent Revelations 1. And what it's actually doing, it's representing how ridiculous the interpretation is. And so I was reading down here where it says I have the keys of death and of Hades. And this word death, this is where your word to euthanate comes from. But that's only when you read it through the second time. The first time you read it through, you're going to add a O after this letter here. So it's the W-O and then D-A-N it of. The Woden it of. Woden, W-O-A-D-A-N. That's the spelling of Odin. And a Woden it of is one like Odin. And so it's talking about Odin hanging himself. He was riding the horse, is the way they'll put it. And so I have the keys of death and of Adu. And they say this is Hades, this A-D-O-U. And you look down here, and here's a word that looks much closer to Hades, the H-I-E-I-D-E-S, Hades. So the Christians view Hades as this fiery place underneath, borrowing the name of Hades, the Greek god of the underworld. So the origin of the name Hades is uncertain, but generally been seen meaning the unseen one since antiquity, and has many spellings: A-I-D-E-S, A-I-D-H-S, Aidionis, A-I-D-I, A-I-D-O-S, A-I-D-A, A-I-S. They'll claim A-A-D-H-S. They'll claim a whole bunch of spellings. But in the Greek Bible, they'll spell it these four ways: A-D-H, A-D-H-N, A-D-H-S, and mostly four times A-D-O-U. But what it's actually talking about is the gate of heaven. And it sits between Hades and Pleiades. And so if you go out there today and look up at the sun, you'll be looking at Hades. This is Hades right here, this star cluster that's at the eye of Taurus, of the bull. And this is Pleiades, this little group of blue stars here. And what's going on with this is all the stars, all the planets will pass through this gate. You see all the planets moving, they pass through this gate. All the planets are in a line. They all travel pretty much here with the sun. You see Mercury, it's real close. It's got to stay close by. But they're all going to pass through this gate between Hades and Pleiades. And this was the Alpha. This is Taurus. This is Alpha. This is the beginning and the end. Everything races through and it comes to the beginning and the end. It comes to the end and then it starts a new beginning. And goes the moon again. You see Jupiter on its way through, and Uranus. They'll all come up going through this gate. So Hades was the firstborn son of the Titans. That's the beginning, is the Alpha, the Hades. Had three older sisters and a younger brother, Poseidon. And Zeus was the youngest. So when the gods divided up the world, Hades took the underworld, he took the south, and Zeus took the upper world, and Poseidon took the ocean. Poseidon is the god of the sea, storms and earthquakes and horses. And so that's what causes storms and earthquakes, is when planets all align in the ring of Poseidon. And if you look in this word Poseidon, you'll see that word posy, the ring dawn, to put on the ring, posy dawn, to put on the ring. And so that's the ring around where all the planets travel, the ocean, the ring of the ecliptic. And Zeus is everything north of there, and Hades is everything south of there. And so the Pleiades, this is heaven. This is the blue sisters, the seven sisters of the right hand. And they sit at a distance of 444 light years away. which is above Hades, because Hades is only 153 light years away. So hell is under heaven, but it's still way above us. And this is all ancient. Everybody knew this. This is the Pleiades and Hades and the sun and the moon traveling through this way. And so this come from ancient times. It was worldwide. Everybody in the world, all the way around the world, knew this. Even the Mayans and the Americas and the Sioux, the American Indians. And the critic. This is where your word Democrat comes from. The cratic. And this was the Vedic term for the Pleiades. And you see it in the book of Job, in the oldest book. And what it means is, when that was written, when the Vedic astrology was written, when the book of Job was written, this was where Easter sat. The sun sat right here at Easter. And that's how you date the books, by their govern, by their cratic. So they'll try to tell us that everybody thought that the world was flat. And then they'll try to tell us that everybody thought that the earth was the center of our solar system, until Nicholas Copernicus in 1500 something he theorized that the sun was at the center of our solar system. This is all fabricated lie. There was no Copernicus. Copernicus is ancient knowledge. And I ran into that while studying this word they give, Hades. And it comes up a couple times here the same way. Have been lifted up to Hades, will be brought down in Matthew. And you can see it here, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against. The gates of Hades change. And then again here, Hades, you'll be brought down. And this word for brought down is katabas. I was talking about that before. A kataba is a worm we use for catfishing. And they never go up. They only come down. That's where that comes from. Will be brought down. The catawba is a moth that lays an egg in the top of a tree. You never see the moth coming in to lay the egg. All you see is all the leaves disappear, and then this troop of worms starts walking down the tree. Those are catawba worms. They only come down. They never go up. And I was looking at that over here in Luke 10:15 when I run upon this Copernicus. And it's talking about you would be lifted up to Hades, you would be brought down. And not to heaven you'll be lifted up. Oh, Copernicus, you ain't going to heaven. You going down to hell. And so by no way am I suggesting that this book of Luke was written after Copernicus. But what Revelations does say is that they try to smudge all the dates. And that's what this is the feet. And we'll see it in the Greek writing when it talks about the feet being bronze. It says something a whole lot different. If you look in the Berean Bible, you can see that this is just the last short line of this short little paragraph called Woe to the Unrepentant. And you look at where it starts, and you can tell it's talking about Poseidon. And his job was to divide the two hemispheres. He was the ring around the center. And he was obeys the obeys the call the chores in, and obeys the call the bath said. Mama said, do your chores and get in the bath. He jumped right on it. He loved the water. And you can see it when you come back and read it with the directional markings, and it's oi, away, to row away, oi away. And then it's the so it's oars in. The plants its oars in. So its oars is also its aura, the light, the colors in. And oi away, so I've hath said. And so he was in charge of tie they entire of side hadn't. He was in charge of divide the side, of tie they entire of side, and move the D over, of hadden. Again it has on. So had taken place is in a time, not a position. Again it is on. Aid. The aid to. The aid to name is. They was drawing out this old Palian alphabet in the stars in the sky where the planets were traveling through. Entire of side heading. Again, it has on aid a name, his agenomony. Anonymy is staying the same, coming from homo the same. The agenomony, it's a nominal. The anomony in inuminy. And so enuma is enuma elish, the place of the gods. And the age anonymy enumimin, the alphabet of the skies, to name them, the aid and to name, the age anominy. Enumin, the Palian, the ancient language, the Palian in the Saka and Spoda, to pick up the letters, to sack them, and spode them. And spode, as past tense, it spoke. To sack and spode, catch 'em and annoy. The catch, come in, oi, the call. The catch, the come and call. To get the word met, within, met in, within, met in, nose in. The met in, nose on, within, nose on. And then you see next it starts with the planet whereof. And you see this word 32 times, and it's always followed with a L, meaning of, the plan of ego, the plan allege of. It's always start with a of or a ov, same as of, or a AV is of. And then when you get down lower here, down here after Luke 10, it's always coming up the planet, always followed by the T, the planet, the planning too. They knew the plane, the plane of the planets, you could plan to, because it was a clock, it worked on time. You could plan it to. The planet, and the planned day. And the planet to whose each trows, and the plan would hand of. And then in Revelations, it's the plan of attacks each the plan of attacks each it. So this all reads 2 times. You read it through twice, with the second time with the directional markings, and it changes it. And then it gets down here to Copernicus, and it says, "You suck Copernicum muchos, very much," and it comes from the word to cover, to covering, and use a covering, the covering whom, much those, somebody, much of those, they're muchos, they're big. And so this is Copernicus. It's all these ancient monks. You see all these ancient monks, and they're working day and night under candlelight, and they're covering up. They're changing the writings. Always many books open. And there's a lot of art of this, with a little bird whispering in his ear. And it's where the word discover comes from, discover. To discover is to discover. To remove the cover on is to discover. So it's playing with words, you haven't discovered, you discovered. And used to covering, of whom muchos, hour on of, the hour on of, day and night, hour on of. Oops-a-daisy. The TH is also the D. That's where your word oops-a-daisy comes from. And it's a bunch of other words inside there too that mean you would be lifted up. But yeah, it means oops-a-daisy. You remove your mistakes. And so after it went on, the lines before this 2 times, there was a lot more explanation there on how the solar system works. Those 2. And then this is V, and you grab the O behind it. VOAD, woad. And that's where that word at the beginning of this was, this woe to the unrepentant. That's where that comes from. That woe has come from woe. It means to stop. Woe, you stopped your horses. And those two woed of Katabas, Katabas, to come down. And it's, according to Kata, according to Bess, that's where your word Beset comes from. She's the one who came to fix the clock every year. Beset is the one that joined the upper and lower Egypt. And then it reads through again with the directional markings. And it's to suck a porn. To suck a porna. Porno comes from the pictures that went with the beginning of the Hebrew. In order to understand it, you had to look at the pictures. And it's the P-O-R-N, the picture, to see the first cycle, the porn. And to suck a porn is false pictures. Is they're drawing up artwork that doesn't go with the writings. And that's why this is in the black box. It's letting you know that this is suck a porn. Who suck a porno, of whom mucho so. That comes backwards here. So, to mucho so. And so, too much so. So is to what you plant. And the odal is your air, what comes out, what you sow. But it's also playing with the word, because what you heir from your father, your taxes was so high that you owed his debt. You were born in debt. You owe. To mucho so, to much plant. To the sucker porn, whom much plant. To the bad artwork to go along with the writings. And then of honor, whereon of honor. And it's playing with the word honor, whereon her. And so honor, whereon of. And this psi is not always the PS. Sometimes it's the SP. And if you look in the Greek, look up in it, it does say that they're not sure which way several of these double letters go. And it only makes sense. You're going to create a letter for a SP or a PS. You use the SP a lot more often than the PS. But it reads either way. And it often means the same thing, either way you read it. And it's us podes. Podes means, to trim the hedges, to cut back. To cut back on the porn. To us podes. We try to read this without the pictures that go along with it, because so many of the pictures have been faked. And to us podes is it hops which. Come back, grab the H. It hops which. Who's so to Veda. V-A-D-O. And this helped me understand how to read this when you get two directional markings on one letter. The one on top says read it through and backwards to the D, and the one on the bottom says going around to the other end. So you follow the one on top, and it goes so to Vada, V-A-D-O, Vado, and then would add of Veda. And so Vada would add a Veda. Vada is a shallow place in the river where to cross. The Vado. Where to cross would, and then add of Wada. And W-O-D-A, V-O-D-A is water in many languages. And the shallow spot to cross would add of water. And it's explaining, from what we're looking at in the skies, if things work the way you said it would, the shallow spot would add of water. It would fill up. And so it's just ancient astronomers arguing about the way the universe works. And to the Vada would add of water. And the Katabas, the Kataba, and then says backward, S-E-S. The Katabases have attacked. They're eating all the leaves. They're coming on down from the tree. And so he's saying, the sun's not sitting in the right stars. It's changing. And the Katabases have attacked, means the river's going down. The Nile's going down. The Katabases has attacked. Everything is going down. And so that's what that star was named. When the sun got to that star, the Catawba star, it means the Nile River is going to go down. and the Catabases are going to come down the tree. The Catabases attack. And so the time's changing. The gate's still in the same place. All the planets still traveling through the same path. But the Easter crossing is moving. Our weather cycles are changing. And so he's talking like he's in a panic. What are we to do? The Catabases have attacked. We usually pick everything up and get out of the valley before the river floods. When it got in this star, the river rose. And when it got in this star, the river came down. And so where it used to happen here, the sun's moving in this direction. When it came up in this star, you knew this was going to happen. But this crossing is moving in this direction. As the sun moves this way every year, moves a degree this way every 72 years. And so nature isn't going along with the way it used to with our stars. And it's just explaining the precession of equinox. This change in the calendar, the way the nature and the calendar work together. So your word for heaven, it's those whore on of, and it's also, those at the hour on of, what's turning up there. And we'll be lifted up, up's a daisy. That's what the maid tells you about your feet when she's trying to sweep under you, up's a daisy. And then Uspades is also to be lifted. You're cutting off the top. Uspades. So I'm going to go back to Revelations 1 where I was reading here. And I'm going to try to hit this some more before I get sidetracked again. But it's taco time now.
Don't forget. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.